today to have small business growth expert Laurie Taylor on the line with me. Welcome, Laurie.
Hi, Alice. So good to be here.
Well, this is wonderful for me to be able to share the information that you have with all of my followers because you have helped me so much, Laurie. I mean, I just can't thank you enough. And, you know, not that I don't want people to think, well, I'm not a very smart businesswoman and don't know how to take care of my finances, because of course I do, but I didn't know how to do it in the way that would make such a huge difference for the profitability of my company. And Laurie, what you have shown me has changed me. I mean, I feel like I have such a different outlook about my business and an understanding of how my money can be managed in a way that I can be much more profitable than I was, and how much money I need to, you know, revenue I need to generate. It's just really a relief for me to look at my finances in this new way, Laurie. So I really want to thank you so much for what you've done for me, and I'm so excited to share all of this with all of the business owners out there that are on the line today. So welcome, welcome to everyone who's on the line. This is being recorded. You can chat us any questions that you have, and I will monitor the chat, and we'll stop and answer those as we go. If we don't get to them, we will go ahead and answer those at the end of the time. So I'm really excited to have you here, Laurie, and I'm going to, without further ado, have us start the presentation. And so let me just switch over to Laurie, and she is now the presenter. So, Laurie, what can we expect to walk away with at the end of this webinar?
Well, first, Alice, thank you so much. One, thanks for having me as a part of your listening audience, because I know how incredibly popular your series is, and I know what good work you do. So it's delightful to listen to what you have to say, because I'm so passionate about helping business owners create a sustainable business, because we're all smart enough to create the business we love, but sometimes we get caught up in certain things. So,
well, especially like me, I'm all about sales, right? All about the revenue side of my business.
Yes.
And I'm really good at that side of my business.
Exactly. And so we all come from that place, Alice, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that sometimes we lose sight of things. So the first thing I want to just talk about is help people understand that sometimes we allow scattered thinking is kind of how I look at it.
So go ahead and share your screen with us, and then we go slide. No problem.
I forgot to do that little drill.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So we are going to talk about several things, but I wanted to, where I usually start when I'm talking to a business owner is the recognition that we have a lot on our plates, just like you said. And Alice, your focus is going to be on sales. So I hear this all the time. I want to follow the sale. I want to get networked. I want to do all the things that I know will drive revenue into my business, and I really don't have time to deal with my financials. And oh, by the way, there's this really cool thing I should go buy because it promised that it would help me make more money or keep more money or open up a new audience for me. So there's a lot of shiny white objects out there that we all have a tendency to want to chase.
Right,
So
and you know me, I have SOS, shiny object syndrome.
I know.
So I relate.
We all do. We all do. There's nothing I'm going to say today, and this is what I just want your listeners to understand. I live in their shoes today. I'm a solopreneur. I run my own business. I've run Flashpoint now for 9 years. But before that, I ran a business in Colorado with 120 employees, and I know the issues. I lived there. I live there today. So I'm not judging. I'm not suggesting that this is easy or that you can suddenly shift your focus and become perfect with something new that you haven't been doing for a while. I just want to try to get people to think about three things. So here's what I want us to try to, uh-oh, Alice, first glitch. I'm not being able to move my...
Try your arrow key.
Click
on the slide with your mouse and then do your arrow key.
Oh, thank you. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so here's what I'm hoping we can talk about today is there's three things that I really focus on. You have to know how much it costs you to run your business. That seems so straightforward and so simple, but it's not. It's one of those things that we just make a lot of assumptions over. So I'm going to help people understand why this is important, why we have to pay attention. And the second one is we've got to know how to price our products or our services in order to make money. We can price our products and services. Can we make money is the next question we have to make sure that we're posing to ourselves. And we'll talk about that today. And the third thing is we have to create a profit plan. We have to make a plan to be profitable. Otherwise, I promise you, you won't be. It's just about that simple. So those are the three things, Alice, I want to help your listeners get a handle on today.
Excellent. And you know, with the way that you helped me, I had a handle on the total number that it cost me to run my business, but I didn't really understand the details of that. And what a big difference it made. I was able to cut out quite a bit from my budget. Well, I didn't even realize these things were just kind of, you know, slipping through. And it's like, oh yeah, it just cost me this much to run my business. But wow, this is going to make a difference to everyone listening today to really understand line by line what it's costing you to run your business.
Perfect. Perfect. So here's where I want to start is, again, if you have no plan, you have no business. And I am not a believer that a plan has to be hard. So we tend to make this harder than it needs to be. We get caught up in, I need to go create a business plan. I need to go find a template to create a business plan. And instead of getting caught up in the template or the way we're going to create the business plan, I want you to spend some time, and you and I worked on this a little bit, Alice. I want you to see where you want your business to be. What do you want it to become down the road? Because we all get churned. We all churn in our business every single day, and we know that trite little statement, we work in our business instead of on our business. Well, the reality is we have to work in our business. It's what we do as business owners. But the chance of actually seeing where you want your business to be or what you want it to become starts you having a conversation with yourself that says, look, I want my business to, and I always use myself in these examples. 3 years ago, I said, I want to create a business where I'm not necessarily working my hour, I'm trading my hour for $1, because as a consultant, it's hard to do that. You're limited by how many hours you want to work every week, and so I wanted to create a business that had online products that allowed me to do a train-the-trainer program on another program that I offer where I get a residual licensing fee coming in. So I had to see that. I had to see that in order for me to start making the plan. So that's why making sure that you have some kind of a vision. I don't think you have to have a vision that takes you forever. I'd like business owners to think about if you need to create a plan for the next 30 days just to kickstart something happening in your world, then create a 30-day vision. And then when you get that vision done, create another one. Is that a goal? Not necessarily. So if that's making sense, Alice, I want people to recognize that you've got to look a little further ahead. It doesn't have to go 5 years, which is almost impossible anymore because the world changes too quickly.
Right. But you do have to know what you're going to do with your business. Are you going to sell it eventually? Are you going to hand it down to the family members? Are you going to just close the doors, you know, lock it up and walk away? I mean, what do you plan to do with your business in the long run? And if you're not sure, maybe you have a couple different ideas. That's okay too. But like we were talking about for my business, you know, I am my business, just like you are your business. Unless we create some products that are on demand or license some other people, there's only so many hours in the day that we can work. So we really have to think about what we want to do with our business. And some people can sell their businesses, and that's fine too. But it's good to know 1 year, at least 1 year from now, what do you want, where do you want to be? 2 years, 3 years, yeah, that's kind of doable. And if you can think about your end game a little bit, you know, then you can start moving towards that. But it's hard to move towards something that you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And that is why we all need a plan.
And it becomes so clear. I've worked with a client now for several years, and you know, sometimes it's frustrating, and I understand. Again, I deal with, but whenever I bring this vision thing up to her, she would get a little frustrated. She'd go, Laurie, I do not have time to deal with a vision. I just got to drive revenue. I got to, you know, pay off my credit card. She had all of these things going on in her life, and she just never took the time to really look ahead and see what she wanted her business to become. Once I got her thinking that way, what happened is she started making clearer decisions about what she would do or what she wouldn't do, you know. So that's, again, the value. I know it takes time to stop, slow down, and maybe not be out there doing those 15 networking events that you're doing that month. Maybe you have to step back and just take a day. I want business owners to spend at least 8 hours a month. That's it, 8 hours a month.
Working on their business.
Yeah, just disengage from that computer screen, walk away, go to Starbucks, go to somewhere, and just disengage for a while so that you can clear the air and really evaluate what's going on in your business today. So you've got to have a plan, and I'm not dictating how you do the plan. I'm just saying you've got to put something down in writing so that you're clear about what you want to do.
Well, in our last Let's Talk Sales webinar, we talked with Laura Posey, who showed us how to do a simple strategic plan. And so just go back to that recording and, you know, look at that information or purchase Laura's product, and that will help you with your plan. There's lots of good things. There's also our good friends at mystrategicplan.com. So there's no excuse not to make your plan. You can do it. But Laurie, tell us about mistake number one that you have seen over and over again with small business owners.
Yep, and again, it's amazing when I ask, one of the first questions I normally ask a business owner when I'm working with them is, so what does it cost you every month to run your business? And I'll either get a blank stare, like, huh? Why do you need to know that? Or I'll get some kind of a stumbling answer. Well, you know, I think last month it was this, but you know, that's really not indicative of what I normally do. So it's confusing. And what I want a business owner, when I ask that question, I want a business owner to tell me exactly to the penny what they spend every month on their business. Because if you're not doing that, here's what happens. You're literally driving down the highway, but you don't have enough controls in your business to decide if you're going to turn left or turn right or go straight, or you need to make a U-turn. So not knowing the numbers is a critical mistake business owners make continually.
And I thought I knew my numbers because, you know, years ago I worked for a long time with another good friend who's on the line today, Val Cardenas, and she really helped me look at my cash flow, and she really helped me know and understand some of that. But, boy, I kind of let it go.
Yeah.
And I didn't really keep paying attention to it as strictly as I should. And when you asked me that question, I had a roundabout number. I was like, well, it costs me about this much to run my business every month. Boy, then when we started digging in, I can tell you that there was stuff in there I was like, oh, yeah, forgot about that. Oh, what is this? Why are we paying that? Are we still paying that? Well, I didn't know we were still paying that. So I think as busy as we are, and I sell and deliver, so I understand how busy all of you are. It's a lot of work. You have to slow down and work on your business and take a look at this, because driving without controls is not fun.
Exactly. So I'm going to share with your listeners as we go through this. They'll get an example of my profit planning template. And what I want you to think about doing now, there's some of you have financial systems that allow you to see what you spent every month. So, you know, I can go back and look and see, okay, it's December, or I can go back in November and say I spent X amount of money in November on my business. Well, I'm glad you can do that. I think we should all look at our financials on a regular basis. But what I'm talking about here is projecting what it's going to cost you 12 months in the future. Most of us are on calendar year. Some are on fiscal year. So it's a 12-month cycle that I want a business owner to recognize that they've got to project their expenses out in front of them, because all you're really seeing when you look at that P&L is what already happened. And you can't fix it. It's gone. It's done. And so by sitting down and really evaluating every month, what am I spending? And is it the right expenditure? Should I be spending it here? Or if I saved a little here, can I apply that over here? Would that do me more good? Would I get more traction by changing how I spend my dollars? So the critical piece of this is to actually write down using a template, and I'm happy to share mine with you just to kind of show you what that looks like, and actually identify what it is. Because like Alice said, sometimes we just start spending and we don't really know why. We feel, or we'll do this. Here's another typical way we handle things, and I've been guilty of this myself. I know that I'm going to land a contract. Say it's going to land in my revenue side in January. So I might have something I want to go spend money on, and I'm thinking, hey, I know I got revenue coming in, so I'm just going to go ahead and spend what I need to spend, knowing that I'm going to cover it on the front end when I get that revenue in. Well, good thinking, but what if you keep doing that time and time and time again, and you don't realize how many times you're assuming that you're going to spend money and you're basing it on the same revenue coming in?
Right,
So,
right. Well, it is really good to be able to look ahead and see, will I have those funds at that time, and then do I have those funds, versus just spending it and then going, oh gosh, we're not going to be able to pay that for that this month. You know, you put it on the credit card and then you can't pay it, and then you start paying interest on it, and you know, it just gets to be a cycle that most of us don't want to be in. So what do we do?
All right, so one of the things that I say is to any business owner, I don't care how big or small you are, if you aren't passionate about the financial aspects of your business, you won't have a business to be passionate about. So in my opinion, this isn't a should have, this is a must have. You have to better understand what it's costing you every month to run your business. And what I talk about is you have profit leaks. There are places in your business right now where you are wasting your most precious asset, and our most precious asset is cash. So one of the things that we have to continue to do as business owners is make sure that we're always accounting for where our cash is going. And if we aren't familiar with where our cash is going, the other thing that I believe is if you assume you know where that money is, or you assume you know what it's costing you, if your numbers are in your head, so are your profits.
Yeah, yeah, and I know every small business owner would like to be more profitable. I mean, we all work so hard. You know, there's no such thing as a 40-hour work week for an entrepreneur. We work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week sometimes, and for that we should, at the minimum, right, be able to be profitable and start reaping the rewards of having our own business.
Absolutely. So I truly do want a business owner to know to the penny what they're spending on marketing, your web hosting, social media, bookkeeping, educational things, employees if you have employees, even part-time employees, or independent contractors. Sometimes, again, we can start hiring people because we need the help, and there's no question we need help. We cannot run our businesses by ourselves. But again, recognizing the cost to the business of what we're really spending is critical. So the job of understanding your financials is yours. Here's what I want to make sure you're understanding. I'm not asking you to become accountants. I don't want you doing your own bookkeeping. If I run into clients who are actually doing their own bookkeeping, I try really hard to get them to disengage from the activity of bookkeeping and hire somebody that can actually come in and do the bookkeeping side of their business for them, because I don't want you getting caught up in worrying about how you log your expenses into your QuickBooks or whatever financial system you're using. However, if you disengage, if you say, I don't like financials, I don't want to deal with financials, I'll just let my bookkeeper deal with it, again, you are abdicating responsibility, and you can't do that as a business owner. So understand what's going on. Don't necessarily do it. I'm not advocating that you go do it, but you have to understand what's going on. Because if you can't explain why, let's just take an example. In January, let's say you projected X amount of expenditures, and you get to the end of January and the actual numbers get put in place and you're $1,000 over. what you projected you would spend in January. You got to know why. I'm not suggesting you did something wrong or that $1,000 wasn't well spent. But
you just have to know.
You just have to know. If you just sit back and go, oh, well, $1,000 over, no problem, I'll pick it up later, that's when we get in trouble.
Right. So if mistake number one is not knowing how much it costs to run your business, what is mistake number two?
Then mistake number two is not pricing your products or services to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, now this is a tough one, especially when you sell your time.
Yes.
What is the value of my time, of 1 hour of my time? You know, you take a look at what I talk to my clients about what the market can bear when they're pricing things, and what what others are charging and what they feel the value is. And of course, I also talk to them about cost of goods, and that's fairly easy when you have an actual product. But I think a lot of people really don't know how to price, and they're maybe not as profitable on some things as they thought they were.
Exactly, Allison. So here's, and you hit on all three of the right tags for knowing how to price your products. And I'm going to go in a little depth on each one of them. There's three critical steps you need to know to price your products and services so you can make a profit. And the first one is to try to understand what it costs you to produce your product or service. This is called your cost of goods on the profit plan that you'll see me explain to you. And your cost of goods is, in the small business world, is direct labor and direct materials. There's another one that's called allocated overhead. And if you're large enough, you've got a lot of different facilities operating, different locations, or a big warehouse, and you move product in and out, then allocated overhead is important. But I try, if I'm working with a business owner who's just getting their arms around cost of goods, I want them to focus mainly on direct labor and direct materials. So to Alice's point, and we'll use an example that I'll just pull out of the air, but most of us know what our billable hour is. So let's just say I'm a service provider, and my billable rate, if somebody comes and hires me, my billable rate is $100 an hour. And I'll just say to somebody, well, it's $100 an hour, so I'll know my billable rate. Here's an easy way to determine your cost to your business, because if I'm trying to determine how much it costs me to produce my service, I need to know the cost of me costing my business, my cost to my business. That's not my billable rate. So the way to get there easily, and I've tested this time and time again, it's pretty accurate, is just take your hourly billable rate, in this case I said 100, and divide it by 3. So the cost to my business in that scenario would be $33. So let's say I'm going to create a coaching program, and I'm going to spend 10 hours creating that program. My cost is $33 times 10, which is $330, right? So that's my direct labor to produce my service. Now the reason, and then I might add some materials. I might have a handout, or I might have to purchase some other tool. I might throw that into my direct material. So let's say I've got my direct labor, which is $330, because my 10 hours times $33, when I'm sitting here doing my 10 hours and creating my product, I multiply that by my cost, which is $33, so I've got $330 of direct labor, and let's just add $50 to that for direct material. So now my coaching program that I'm going to roll out cost me to produce $380. Now I know that if I want to make a profit on that, I know I've got a starting point on where to start the rate that I'm going to charge. So Alice, does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, so if I got to charge more than $330 plus the materials, whatever it was, let's say, so it was $500, now I've got to charge more than $500 to start to make a profit.
Exactly.
And whatever that is, again, you start to look at what the market can bear and what competitors, charge and what value you bring. But Laurie, a question is, if I'm the business owner and I sell and deliver, do I look at what I want to pay myself, to start to see what each one of my hours is worth? How do I determine as a business owner what my 1 hour is worth?
It's kind of your decision. There's no, if you were hiring employees, it's easy because I'm going to hire, let's say I'm going to hire you, Alice, to be one of my employees, and I'm going to choose to pay you $12 an hour. I get to choose that because that's what I can afford. That's why you have to come up with a cost that's convenient and personal to you. There's no
right. So would you bill out like that $12 an hour employee to make a profit on them? What would you have to bill them out at?
Well, see, and that's the other thing. Then multiply that times 3 and bill them out at a times 3 rate. Now, the reason I go there's a lot of ways you can do this. But when I was running that company, the marketing communications company with 100-some employees, I had to make sure that I knew what they cost us and what I needed to bill them out at to cover all of our cost, our overhead, and everything else. So I ran this scenario with my bookkeeper back and forth a ton of times. So that's why I'm comfortable saying if you've got an employee that's costing you $12 an hour, multiply that times 3, and that's a decent way to start understanding what their billable rate would be in order for you to cover your costs.
And Laurie, what I tell my business owners about themselves is basically know what you would cost on the open market. What if someone were to hire you to do the job with the experience and skills that you have, what would they be having to pay you to get that? And you can start to think, okay, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, and then you have to make money on yourself, and you're going to have to bill that out at the 3 times as well. So I think there's lots of ways to come across it, but knowing what people are charging is one way for sure to do it. Of course, knowing about what you want to pay yourself and knowing about what kind of profit you need to make, all of these things are going to go into that number.
Exactly. So this one gets a little complicated, but it's not hard to do, and if you don't do this exercise, this will come back, and when you're selling a product, it's much easier, like you said, Alice, because you've got, if you've got to buy the equipment, that's pretty straightforward. But when it's you as the product, when you're selling your time as a consultant or a coach, then this is a critical number for you to get a hold of. So that's number 1 in terms of helping you set your price.
Direct labor and direct market.
Direct labor and direct materials. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, Alice, the second piece is you've got to at least have a clear picture of what your competitors are charging. Not to match them or try to undercut them for any specific reason, but just to be aware. If you're if you know your competitors are charging, say, $500 for a program, and you come out charging $900, it doesn't mean that's good or bad. It just means that you might have to be aware that that's going to be a big spread for you to justify if somebody's comparing apples to apples. Now, in many cases, it's never apples to apples, but that's your job as the business owner, the service provider, to explain what the apples to apples are, and explain why why it might be apples to oranges right now.
Right, so, which speaks to your next point, your next slide, which is basically what is the value. And, of course, that's where I come in, trying to teach business owners and salespeople how to sell their value and how to differentiate themselves in the marketplace, because people are not going to pay a higher price if they don't see the value. But we all know that people will pay more for things they want. I mean, obviously, not everyone goes out and, buys an inexpensive car. They may pay for a Mercedes. Some will, some won't. Some see the value in that, some don't. People will pay for what they perceive has a value to them.
Exactly. So this was another one that helps a business owner not become a price point decision for somebody, because then you're dropping yourself into the commodity world. And we don't want to be commodities. We want to set ourselves apart. We want to say, I'm different because, and a good example for me is I do a train the trainer program, and I have to convince business consultants to come and take my program, and there's thousands of business consultants out there. So I have to be very, very clear with them that the product they're purchasing from me has huge value in their marketplace because it sets them apart. And I did a lot of work to come up with 25 differentiating points that my product comes up against and comes out ahead of other products in the business consulting world. So it takes some time. This is not an easy one to do, but your sales will improve, Alice, right?
Right.
If you nail this one. If you
right.
and you know, here's the final thing I want to say on pricing, and of course if there's questions we'll answer them, but the other thing I want to mention is if you are a startup, let's say you're just getting started and you don't have any testimonials, you don't have somebody that can stand up and say, hey, I just worked with Laurie for 6 months, I loved her, loved the program. If you don't have that going forward, it doesn't mean you ignore these three things, but here's another one I would add to a startup person. You have got to be confident when you talk to somebody about the price you charge. So get clear about what it needs to be, but if it has to be $100, here's a quick example. If it has to be $100 because you went through these three steps and you determined it's got to be $100, but you choke when you are facing somebody and before you even give them your price, you're already discounting it. Well, I'd be happy to give it to you for 25% off and blah, blah, blah. If you're not confident when you're talking to somebody about what you charge, then go there. Be confident. If you need to drop that 100 to 75 and you know right out of the blocks you're still not going to make money, if you're a startup, gain some confidence and gain some testimonials, gain some people that believe in what you've just delivered, but be confident. Do not go to the market begging people for your service or being afraid to say what it is. So that's the fourth point I want to just bring up.
So before we move on to mistake number 3, we have a question, and that is, why do you charge the employee out at 3 times to cover their costs instead of making a profit on them?
Oh, good point. Oh, okay. Here's here's that whole conversation. If you're a business owner like I was with employees, I had to factor in their salary. Okay, so if we'll just use the hourly ideas. So they're $12. They cost me $12 to hire them. I have to pay benefits. So part of their cost to me includes what I'm covering in their health insurance, vacation time, whatever those costs are to me. And then I have to factor in the overhead, what it costs me to run my business every month. So I would go through, and my bookkeeper would run a whole spreadsheet to identify the real cost to the company of that employee. It's not $12 an hour. That's what I got to hire them for, and that's what I'm paying them in their salary. But I'm also paying for their health insurance, and I'm also needing to cover all the overhead that it costs us to keep our doors open to operate on a regular basis. So when she would run those big, expensive, and long spreadsheets, when we went back and did a multiplier of 3, that tended to cover the benefits, the
hourly,
the cost of their hourly, and the cost of the overhead, and our profits. So the other thing that my bookkeeper would factor in is how much money do we want to make on each of our billable houred people. So good question. That's exactly why I said times 3 is if you don't want to go through the long way, and any bookkeeper or any accountant can do that for you. There's no question in my mind. They could come up with the exact amount of money you should bill that person out at based on all the costs associated with your business.
So that's a rule of thumb. It may not be exactly for your particular business. You may have to charge a little bit more to get the profitability you want, or you may be able to charge a little bit less to get the profitability you want. But the 3 times is just a rule of thumb to go by.
It's just a rule of thumb, and I ran it, again, I used to do this a lot, and so it seems to be fairly accurate if you don't want to go through the whole spreadsheet conversation about breaking it down. But for us small solopreneurs, just to come up with my own billable rate, my own cost to me as to my company, I'm comfortable with the times 3.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about mistake number 3.
All right, so here's the one that causes the biggest concern to small business owners is you're not setting up a plan for how much revenue you will drive into your business each month, which ultimately becomes what I call a profit plan. There's lots of different aspects to a profit plan, and I start with the revenue side, but the question I always ask a business owner is, what is your plan to be profitable? So when I ask a business owner, well, let's set up a profit plan, let's look 12 months out, and let's identify how much revenue you need to bring in every month in order to cover the expenses that you spend every month and in order to make a profit, because just bringing in the same amount of revenue that you spend every month is called break even. We're not making any money. So the value of understanding, again, going back to what the first mistake was, we don't know what it cost us to run our business. If we don't know that and we're not bringing in enough revenue every month to cover that nut every month, so you think it costs you $2,000 every month to run your business, and every month you only bring in $1,500 in revenue, you're going to go out of business.
Well, and of course the credit card bills must be going sky high as well. So
Exactly.
you've got some indicators, but that is something that I see when smaller businesses, they just don't really understand what it takes every month. And again, back to mistake number one, but we've got to know that. And then how much profit do you want to make? And you may want to make a different amount of profit depending on what your goals are for the business and whether you're planning on selling it, or how much you need to invest back into your business. If this is a time when you need to invest a lot back into your business, you're going to want more profits to be able to do that with.
Exactly. So the value of really creating a profit plan is to give a business owner headlights so they can see ahead of what's coming. Once you understand, well, and here's the big pushback I get, Alice, is, well, Laurie, I don't know how much revenue I'm going to drive in my business. It depends on, what clients I land and how many products I sell. And so, but what I'm forcing you to do in this profit planning process is you have to figure it out. You have to say, okay, if I'm spending $2,000 a month in my business, then I've got to sell $2,500 every month. So if you know that your average sale is, $50, and you need to sell $2,500 a month to make a profit, then you've got to sell 50 products every month. How are you going to do that? Now you can go back and start making a marketing plan to help you figure out how you're going to sell 50 products every month.
You call a sales expert to help you do it.
There you go. You get Alice, and you go forward. But without understanding how much revenue you're capable of driving through your business, you're basically wishing for the revenue to come in, and I call it you're running your business on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, I always say hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, hope.
I hope I'll get that much this month.
Yeah.
We need a strategy. We need a plan.
So you have to make sure that you really understand that. So Alice, I'm going to pop up my profit plan template real quick. And I'm sure I'm going to do this the correct way.
Go. Good. You got it?
I got it. So if we're looking at this, and again, I'm not trying to overwhelm anybody with this process, but I just want to show you in a kind of a color-coded basis, when you're working with a worksheet, a profit planning worksheet, you can see that across the top in the yellow, we're identifying our revenue. And I like people to identify their revenue based on how their revenue comes into their business. So in Laurie's world, one of my revenue groups is speaking, one of my revenue groups is consulting, another one is training, and my fourth revenue group are products. So there's 4 ways that Laurie drives revenue into her business, and I'm going to project for my 2015 profit plan how much money I expect to bring in each of those revenue groups every month. Okay? Then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to figure my cost of goods against that. And I don't want to complicate this. I don't want people to get nervous about this. If all you want to do right in the beginning is do your revenue and your expenses, you are golden. Okay? We can always get a little more sophisticated with our cost of goods. You might want to break out, like I do on mine, the orange is my marketing and business development expenses because I'd like to set up my marketing mix to know how I'm going to market my business and what I'm going to spend every month to do that. And then in the blue part, again, I'm going to identify my rent, my phone, my utilities. Here's my personal compensation. This is what you as a business owner needs to make every month. Entertainment and travel, equipment, whatever those line items are for your business, that's where you would put them. And again, you're going to project all of those out for the whole year. And ultimately, this plan, this sheet, already calculates your formulas. And I'm going to be able to know every month what my net profit is so that I can look ahead and say, wow, I'm doing good. I projected my net profit in January was going to be 20%, and if I keep doing what I say I'm going to do, by the time I get into April, my net profit's going to skyrocket to 30% because I've done a really good job of matching my revenues against my expenses, and I'm still making good money. So that's really the profit plan. Any good bookkeeper, any good accountant can set this up for you. I don't expect you to be an Excel wizard. That's not the point here. But just making sure that you have some kind of tool to manage your profitability, and I will guarantee you, you will stop leaking profits if you do this. That's my guarantee, and I'm sticking to it.
And I'll tell you, I'm one of those people who doesn't like to sit still, doesn't like to fill out spreadsheets, looks like something like this and says, oh my God, this is overwhelming, I can't do it. And guess what, everybody? I did it. So I know you can do it too.
Alice. All right, so I'll get back to our presentation because we're going to finish up here.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want you to recognize is profitability isn't only about money, and that's, again, something I want business owners to recognize. And it goes a little bit to what I said earlier, that you've got to work on your business. You've got to spend that time making sure that you're not just worrying about the dollars, you're worrying about what's your customer service charter. How are you going to take care of your customers? Because you want repeat customers. If your business is going to grow and thrive, you want people either coming back to you on a regular basis or at least referring you out. So there are other things that impact your ability to make money in your business. It is about the profit and the dollars, but you've got to have clarity. You've got to have a vision. You've got to work your plan to make your profit, which will help you grow. So the last thing I always say is follow the money. What's your plan? If you always wake up every morning and say, what am I going to do today to follow the money, whatever that looks like, it could be you go to a networking event, it could be you make that follow-up phone call that you keep putting off. Whatever it is, if you follow the money, you'll usually make the best decision in how you're going to grow your business.
Right, right. And I think it's just, you know, the way my friend Valerie puts it is high payoff activities. Wake up every day and decide what your high payoff activities are going to be and what is revenue generating. And what I see a lot of business owners do is a lot of things in the middle of their day that are not sales related, that are not helping their company generate revenue. So I like to say, you know, before 8 and after 5, that's when you can do those kinds of things. But during your prime hours, you need to go out and sell. You need to help your sales team sell. You need to be doing things that help your company make money. Follow, as you're saying, follow the money.
Yeah. So that was the overview, Alice. I just wanted to give your listeners a chance to really understand the value, first of all, in thinking intentionally setting your business up to succeed. You have to be intentional. You have to sit down and say, I want to make money. What am I going to do that? And recognize how to price your services properly, how to make sure that you're setting up a plan that gets you ahead of things, and that you're not allowing scattered thinking to drive what you do every day.
Yeah. Now, I do have a few questions coming in, so let's see what we can do. And then, okay, so our listener that had asked us about the 3 times to cover their costs, he had a comment. We also have to factor in equipment costs. Absolutely. We may have a crew of 3 on a site, hourly costs known, but they're operating equipment that costs $300,000, drilling rigs, remediation equipment, etc. Absolutely, those things have to be in there.
Yep, those are all your either your overhead or they'll show up in your cost of goods. So those will be absolutely factored in. That's why those spreadsheets get to be a little dynamic, because there's a lot of things. If you've got a manufacturing environment, if you've got a production setup, you
Right.
have to know all of those things. So it can be very simple when you're a solopreneur like Laurie, or it can get very, very complicated very quickly like a couple of my manufacturing clients do.
Right.
So yes, you have to just be smart. That's all. Just be smart.
Now, Laurie, one of our listeners is asking, is this a break-even analysis?
Well, your break-even analysis is, again, if all you want to do is break even, you're going to drive the same amount of revenue. You're going to figure out your expenses first, and then you're going to say, okay, if it's costing me this amount every month to run my business, my break-even that's how much revenue I need to drive.
Right.
So that's your break-even. We just don't want to.
You can do that with your spreadsheet. You can see
Absolutely.
where your break-even point is, but what we want to do, of course, is get beyond break-even. Now, there may be some reason you want to operate your business at a break-even. You know, that's a decision you're making when you do your strategic plan and talk with your advisors and that kind of thing. But most of us do want to make a profit, especially if we're going to be selling our company. So,
right.
different ways to look at it.
And what I didn't really talk about to help that person understand, again, you've got your revenue, and from your revenue comes your cost of goods. So you take your revenue minus your cost of goods, which gives you your gross profit. And then from that gross profit, that's what you're running your business on. That's what's covering all those, in my example of my profit plan, that's the gross profit amount is what's covering the expenses to drive and run your business. And the more gross profit you make, the more money you'll have to cover those overhead expenses, and the more you'll drop to your bottom line.
Yes, yes,
absolutely. So you need to understand the whole kind of concept, because you want your gross profit to be as high as it can be, and usually you get higher gross profit by increasing the volume that you sell, decreasing the cost of what it costs you to run your service or product, to build your service or product, or you increase your price.
Right.
So you have a couple of ways of impacting that gross profit, and we need to be aware of what those are.
And if this is all really overwhelming for you, like it was for me, that's when you get help. You find someone, you ask your accountant, you get a financial advisor, or you find a coach like Laurie to help you figure it out. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I should know this and I don't, and then just stay in that little corner. Say, oh my gosh, I don't know this and I want to know it, and I want to be passionate about the financials of my business, and find someone to help you with it. That's what I had to do. I'm just not a person who sits around thinking about my financials. I'm more like, oh, there's still checks. There must be still money. And that's okay. But I'm learning, that in order to grow my business to the level that I really wanted to, I've had growth every year, and it's been wonderful. But now I want to get to a whole new level. I've got to pay attention to this in a different way than I ever have before. So don't be overwhelmed by it. Get the help that you need. Now, Laurie, I have a question from Jim that he's asking, how can we get a copy of Laurie's profit planning worksheet?
Well, let's go through my offer here,
okay,
Alice, to see if because I've got a couple options for you. And I am so excited that Alice asked me to be a part of this, that I put together, this is my normal program. So I have what I call, this is my online program called Destination Greatness, and it is called a Business Owner's Financial Success System. This is all online. There's 12 modules. It's $97. It's a one-time fee. You go to destinationgreatness.com, And I put this program together, Alice, when I was getting so many questions from business owners about what I just went over with your listeners. And
yeah, I remember when you first put it together, because I was one of the first people who went on and used this program to give you feedback, and it is absolutely phenomenal.
So it's very straightforward. There's 12 modules. You can go through all 12 of them in one day, or you can take a year. It doesn't matter to me. Or you could focus on cash flow module because you just don't understand cash flow. But in this program, there are at least 5 or 6 templates that you can download when you get to that module. So there's 3 or 4 modules that address the profit planning process, and you can download the profit plan that I showed on the screen is the profit plan that you will get. That template will come with this program. So one-time fee of $97, and you can get access to study guides. I'm talking you through it, and then every month I attempt to have a live session with Laurie. I gauge that a little bit based on my schedule, which gets a little crazy, but if I can be live once a month, you get to be with Laurie live, and I can answer all your questions if you're a part of my Destination Greatness program. So that one would give you all the things that we talk about, cost of goods, walk you through all of that. So that's the first thing they could do, Alice.
Okay, great. What else?
Then I got to thinking, all right, I've had people sign up for my Destination Greatness program, but they couldn't necessarily navigate it on their own. Not that they didn't have the smarts to do it, they just chose not to. So,
well, some people like me, I'd rather have somebody help me along with it. I don't like to sit quietly and learn.
Yes.
Some people do like to sit quietly and learn.
Yes.
I think those online programs are great for them. But I learn by talking, so it's much better for me to have a coach or somebody I can talk to, and that's the way I learn.
Exactly. So I decided I would put together this little program for your listeners. Normally this is a $1,250 program where I work one-on-one. This is a customized program where you're working with me one-on-one. This is not group coaching. This is me and you on the phone, 8 sessions, 4 weeks to develop your profit plan. What I promise you on this program is I will help you build your profit plan. I will help you set up marketing plans to support your revenue goals, and I will give you help you set up a cash flow system so you start managing your cash better. You'll get all of that in this program for only $949, and that I think is a real good opportunity for people like you, Alice, who just didn't want to, I don't want to sit there and do it myself, Laurie. I want you to teach me, and then if you sign up for this by December 23rd, we'll get it pretty well done by the first of the year. I can't promise you it'll happen before January 1st, but you'll get a real good kickstart on your year, and that's, you know, ultimately you should be doing this in October.
Right, right. Well, if you've done your strategic plan and you just need this financial piece and you want to get it done before the end of the year, I think this is awesome.
Exactly. So to do this, since I didn't set this up as a regular program, all you have to do this is send me an email. And my email is here. That's what you'll get, that's what I just said. But you can reach Laurie at laurie@igniteyourbiz.com. Just send me an email, laurie@igniteyourbiz.com, if you're interested. You don't have to say, I want to sign up. If you want to talk to me about it, I am there. I will help you. My goal in 2015 is to reduce the number of business owners who lose money.
That's a great goal.
So that's my passion, and so that's it, Alice. I'm hoping some of your folks are looking for some help, and I'm there to help them if they need it.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Laurie has been a huge help to me and to several other small business owners that I know. So I can vouch for her 100%. If you need this kind of help, please give her a call. But if there's any other questions, we want to answer them now. We have just a couple minutes left. And we're happy to answer questions if it's specific about your business, if you want to chat it in, or if you just have a question in general about this. And don't be feeling bad right now if you're not having a handle on your finances the way we're talking about. I didn't. I admit it. And I have had a greater handle on my finances at sometimes in my business career than others. And sometimes we lose sight of it for a little while, and then we have to pull ourselves back because, you know, I'm going to help you focus on the revenue side. Go out there and sell. Get more business. Bring in new business. Get new customers. Hire salespeople. That's what I'm going to do. But if you're doing that, and at the same time on the other end you're bleeding, it's not going to work. Your business is not sustainable, and it's not healthy. So we have to look at both pieces. We have to look at bringing in the revenue, and then we have to really look at how we're spending it to make a sustainable, profitable business that gives you the lifestyle that you want or allows you to sell in the future. And,
Yep.
you know, that's what we want as small business owners. So I don't see any other questions coming in. So if you do end up thinking of something that, you know, you want to ask, oh, actually, hang on, there's another one. Let's see. Alice and Laurie, that was great. Laurie, I'm rebranding and looking at online opportunities for my business and would like to explore your affiliate opportunities. Would you like to make an appointment? So yes, this is my good friend Val, and I will totally be happy to introduce yourselves. You guys are two peas in a pod because you're my two biggest financial fans. You helped me with my financial world, and I love that.
Perfect.
And so anyway, why don't you guys get together and chat about that. And then if anybody else wants to get a hold of Laurie, here's her contact information. This has been recorded, so we will certainly send it out to you so you can review it again. And if you just want to chat with Laurie and learn more, there's, you know, no obligation. She's just like me. She'll spend some time
Absolutely.
talking to you, learning about what you need and giving you suggestions. So please feel free to get a hold of her. And so I want to say Happy Hanukkah to anyone out there celebrating Hanukkah this week. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I want you all to go out and have a fantastic 2015. So if you need help, please call me. And if I can't help you, I find great people who can. So I'm always here for you. So have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you at our next Let's Talk Sales after the new year.